abbiamo Simone Fontecchio, mi amico, mi fratello, mi paesano, Simone Fontecchio. Benvenuti a Miami, mi amico. Simone è un grande, how do you say it? È un grande giocatore di pallacanestro. Sì, è molto bene. Lui è molto, molto forte. Maron, benvenuti a Simone Fontecchio. Oh my God, my Italian's rusty. Yes, I used to live in Italy for a year. I used to be really good at Italian. Now I'm okay. And Simone, welcome. He's from Pescara. Fun fact, I've actually been to Pescara, and I've been to a strip club in Pescara. And let me tell you, boys, I got digits from a stripper in Pescara. She was from Naples, didn't call her. But most importantly, we got my boy, Stormin Norman Powell. I have been a big Norman Powell guy for years now. I've been a Norman guy since like 2023 when I started paying attention to the NBA again. And I always remembered, man, Norman in that Clippers-Suns series in 2023, and Kawhi was hurt, and Paul George was hurt, and I think James Harden was hurt, and it was kind of just like him and Russ, and the Suns were pretty good at the time, and Norman had like a 42-point game and a 37-point game. He was killing it. Ever since then, I've been a Norm Powell guy. Happy to have him on the Heat. Very, very sad that Duncan's been traded. Kevin Love has been traded. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the rotations. I honestly have no idea how that's going to work. Things might happen between now and training camp as well. Like, who knows if Wiggins and Terry will be on the team. There's been all kinds of trade talks with the Lakers. Very bittersweet. The great Duncan Robinson and Kevin Love have been traded. Duncan, man, I have so much respect for that guy. To go from D3 to D1 to being undrafted to the Miami Heat believing in him. What was that, the 2020 season? He had like that breakout, and then he kind of like fell off, wasn't even playing, and then made a comeback in 2023, added dribbling to his game and getting to the basket and all that stuff. He had some great moments in that 2023 run. Some of my favorite moments just off the top of my head of Duncan was that time. I mean, there's so many great moments, but man, that time he cooked Wemby. Woo! Remember that move he did on Wemby? Oh my God. And then the I'm a bad MFer. Man, just a guy that could just absolutely shoot the lights out. Pistons, very, very exciting team. I hope they use him, and I hope they realize that Duncan really is more than just a three-point shooter. He's a pretty damn good ball handler. He's a good passer. He's a good connector. He spaces the floor, and I hope they use him the right way, and I hope Duncan can contribute to a really exciting team. And of course, the legend, Kevin Love, man, just a great overall experience with Kevin Love on the Heat. I used to love watching Kevin Love play, man. So fundamental, how he would grab all those rebounds and the outlet passes, and just an overall great guy that everybody loves. Brought great vibes to the locker room. Love those guys. Forever Heat legends in my book, but I'm also very excited about Norman Powell and Simone Fontecchio. And Simone Fontecchio, man, I remember that guy being an absolute Heat killer at a certain point in time. When he was on the Jazz and early on when he was on the Pistons. Oh, man. And I went back and looked. I pulled up all the times that he played the Miami Heat, and I think it was like late 23 and early 24. There were 3 games. He had like a 22, 23, and 24-point game against the Heat. And then as time went by in the Pistons, he kind of like lost his way. And I saw some article that came out recently about how Kevin Durant tried to get Simone Fontecchio onto the Suns, which I found that very interesting. Now, my boy, Norman Powell. Let me just read some of my Norman Powell tweets from back in the day. I mean, this is from 2023. I tweeted Norman Powell was the best player on the Clippers. 2024, Norman Powell was having the most underrated season. This year, I tweeted, fuck all of you. Norman Powell is a goddamn all-star. Also, I'm a Heat fan, but I swear Norman Powell is one of my favorite players. So I'm a Norman Powell guy. And I don't know, man. There's just something about his game. He's just one of those like blue-collar kind of hoopers. The guy can shoot. Last season was his best season, which is pretty cool. Clippers weren't a bad team. They're a pretty solid team. And he averaged, I think, something like 22 points, 42% from 3. pretty damn impressive. And this is a guy who was a six-man most of his career. And he went from that to being the most important option on the Clippers a lot of the time. He's a good enough defender. A lot of people say that his defense has fallen off a little bit. He is 32. But if you go and listen to his Miami Heat media day, he seems very, very happy to be there. He's determined to prove to everybody that he's still a very good defender.
Going into Miami, I fit the culture perfectly. Just that grit, that competitiveness, putting in the work, the extra work. Excited to, put my imprint on the defensive end, coming in with this organization. I know people have talked about how that's taken a step back since my Toronto days, but I'm really excited to, put a main focus on that and get back to guarding and pressuring and picking up and causing havoc on that end.
And he just seems like a Heat guy. He just seems like a kind of guy that would fit in well on the team, kind of like how Davion just fits in well on the team. And he also seems just like an overall very good dude, good guy, professional type guy, classy guy. And now I know I'm not completely naive or delusional. I'm not saying that we're going to win a championship because we got Norman Powell, but it went from me kind of being pretty down on the Heat and not really looking forward to much to now I'm a lot more interested. Like, I'm very excited to see Norman Powell playing on the Heat along with these guys. I'm not sure how these rotations are going to work. And then some people, the real naysayers, the real cynical people are saying, he's just going to be another Terry Rozier or Andrew Wiggins. And, I have to disagree with that because, when we got Terry, he was on the Hornets, and the Hornets were awful, and it was the whole looter and a riot syndrome. It's not really a good comparison. And then Andrew Wiggins, Wiggins hasn't really been all that great the last few seasons. He had that good season in 2022, and ever since then he's been very up and down and inconsistent, and he's playing and he's not playing. I don't really know what the deal is with that guy. I've never really been able to figure out Andrew Wiggins. Whereas Norman Powell, he had his best season last season on a pretty damn good Clippers team. And another thing regarding the Norman Powell trade is that we got a pretty damn good player, and we didn't really give up much. I mean, yeah, we all love Kevin Love, but let's be honest. I mean, he barely played last season, might retire very soon. And then Kyle Anderson, also, I love Kyle Anderson, Jersey guy, went to St. Anne's. Shout out to Bobby Hurley. I used to go to St. Anne's and Bobby Hurley's summer basketball camp, and I used to go and watch St. Anthony's all the time play when I was a kid because they were a powerhouse. Shout out to Kyle Anderson. But, wasn't really playing all that much. He had some okay moments, but, I mean, I will take Norman Powell a bajillion times over Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson. So, pretty awesome. And another nice thing that we can look forward to going into this season is that we have a blank slate, a fresh start. The Jimmy stuff is behind us. Remember going into last season, you had all the Jimmy stuff hanging over our head, and it just was weird all season, and then all the drama. I mean, that just dragged on and on and on. So that's all behind us. So a fresh start is very nice. And here's a fun little optimistic fact. Norman Powell's most recent game against the Miami Heat, January 13th of this year, killed us. He had 29 points and 6 rebounds in a win. So, dude can hoop. Now, as far as the rotation and who's going to start, I don't have a damn idea. Also, too, who knows if the current roster as it is right now is going to be the same roster once training camp comes around. People are saying that they're going to move Wiggins and Rozier. And some people are saying that they're going to hold on to Wiggins and Rozier and wait until the trade deadline during the season for teams that really, really need someone like those two guys, that you might have them over a barrel if other people get hurt, and then you can really use them as leverage to get a good trade. I don't know. Then I've also heard that they've been talking to the Lakers a lot, and that it might be like a Wiggins Terry situation for like a Rui and Dalton Connect or something like that. And I'm like, that sounds pretty good to me. Now, what I think, my crazy ass, I would love to get, trade Wiggins and Terry for Rui, who, by the way, I think Rui has a ton of potential and has not really been utilized to his full potential on the Lakers. But to get Rui and the great Heat legend Gabe Vincent back in the house along with Cole Swider, I don't know. What do you guys think? I kind of would rather Gabe and Cole Swider instead of don't connect. I'm telling you, man, Cole Swider, that dude can shoot, man. That dude can shoot. And Gabe has just, kind of floundered on the Lakers. I watched Gabe play on the Lakers, and I'm just like, this isn't the same Gabe Vincent that was our lead scorer in the Game 2 of the finals, and Game 2 win in Denver. What happened to him? I don't know. Good for him, though. He got paid. Anyway, to the rotations. I'm looking at the ESPN depth chart here, and they're saying that the starters are, of course, Tyler, Bam, and Ware, along with Norman Powell and Andrew Wiggins. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be some combination of Tyler, Bam, and Khalil with either Norman Powell, Wiggins, Davion, or maybe Jovic. Who knows? But I kind of like our depth, too. I mean, if you do have that starting lineup, say you start with Tyler, Norm, Wiggins, Bam, and Khalil, you got Davion coming in, you got Haywood, you got Jovic, Pell Larson, who's been having a great summer league so far. By the way, I think and I hope that you have breakout years from Jovic and Pell. And then, of course, you have Jaime. Hopefully Jaime is going to be bouncing back from a pretty bad sophomore slump. I have high hopes for Jaime. A lot of people are down on him. And then, of course, Drew Smith. Remember, Drew Smith was playing pretty damn well before he got hurt. Drew Smith is coming back, and Simone Fontecchio. Yeah, am I overly optimistic? Of course. Am I delusional? Yeah, but that's what's fun. That's what's fun about it. And, these trades, getting a guy like Norman Powell, it makes things a little interesting. What do you guys think? Let me know who should start. But I'm also kind of one of those guys that's like, yeah, the starting lineup's important, but to me, what's always more important is who's going to close. Who's going to play the last 5 minutes of the game? Who's playing in the last 2 minutes of the game? That, to me, is kind of more important than who's playing in the first 4-ish, 5-ish minutes of the game. So, okay, that's it. Look at this. I have an off-season summertime video. Amazing. That's all. I have nothing else to say. Okay, goodbye.